Hello everyone, this is Emmet. I'm gonna go ahead and close the music right now. I'm just gonna give everybody a little bit of sense of what the debate is gonna be. The prompt of the debate, well, the debate's about free speech, but the prompt of the debate, the whole thing is when a citizen invokes symbols such as the US flag, Abraham Lincoln, the Marine Corps, and Jesus while hosting an open debate forum, they have an ethical duty to protect the same speech the First Amendment protects, even if they're not legally required to do so. On the affirmative, we have Steelman, who's going to start the debate, and then we have BigSoda, who's going to be on the opposite side. The debate is going to start with 5 minutes with 5 minute opening statements from both sides. We will go all the way to 1 hour, and then we're going to have a 5 minute closing statement. If once that happens, I'm gonna open the panel so that people can come up and ask one question. So think about your one question. You only have one, and once that is done, I will probably grift a little bit, and then I'll let you all go and have fun everywhere you go. I saw that Jess gave me a raid, which I'm really appreciated. Like, thank you so much, Jess, for the raid. She was gracious enough to be early on today as well, and we had a very good time. If you all would like to give me a like and a sub, that would be appreciated. I just hit 200, by the way. I just hit 200 sub mark. So to you, thank you very much. We're gonna go ahead and have a celebration on the 200 subscribers. I'll set up something that we can all do together. Without further ado, I will ask Steelman, are you ready?
All right, let's go for it, man.
Okay, so your 5 minutes begin now.
Yeah, so, okay. All right, so anyways, thanks for having me on, and I appreciate it, and good to meet you, Big Soda, and everyone that come out, and thanks, Jess, for the raid. So, to give everyone a background of where this is coming from, sort of, um, and the prompt, I don't have it in front of me, but is it ethically, wrong to have the United States flag, be invoking these symbols like the United States flag, the Marine Corps flag, Christianity, um, uh, and titles like open panel, open debate discussion forum as your headliners, presenting it as an open marketplace of ideas while also suppressing speech uh, in the chat that's First Amendment protected speech. It's TOS non-violation speech, but it's still being suppressed under these channels that are waving the American flag or the United States flag, the Marine Corps flag, saying that they're Christians. And when you stack these things together, it becomes more than just a symbol or two here. It becomes an ethical obligation to actually stand for what these symbols represent. And again, this is not is he legally bound to, right? That's already been resolved. He's not legally bound to. But what I'm saying is that Jesus died for what reason? Well, when he asked, they said, well, for blasphemy is the reason that we want to kill you because you claim to be God, or for words, right? For speech. So Jesus was actually crucified for speech, okay? And it's kind of interesting in this whole wake of the Charlie Kirk event because this was going on just before this, and then it happened, and now here we are. And people were saying, oh man, the man sort of died in the name of free speech and whatnot, or a man using his free speech was killed and all this stuff, right? But then the other side says, well, it's not free. But then they're going to tell me, well, it's Abe's channel, or whoever's channel, right? It's not free speech. If the government isn't suppressing it, if the government isn't the one shooting you, then you're not actually invoking free speech at all. And look at when Charlie Kirk, that event happened, people said, look, he was killed for his free speech. Now, did the government do it? Let's just say they didn't. People will still see that his speech was silenced. He was invoking free speech because it was presented as a marketplace of ideas, even if it was a controlled platform, even if somebody could have went in there and suppressed other people and kicked them out. When you present an open platform, it's a marketplace of ideas. It's the foundation of democracy. It's the foundation of a healthy republic. It's what the Greeks envisioned. We held our government to this standard because we also assumed that we would hold each other to this standard, just like we do in a public area. And he's going to say, well, this is a private area. Well, yeah, but this is a public facing area, right? And it's publicly accessible, and you're invoking symbols that stand for these certain grounds of ethics and principles. So when you're invoking symbolisms of the United States flag, the Marine Corps flag, and why I say that specifically is because the Marine Corps take an oath to uphold the First Amendment. So he's symbolizing all of these things, an oath to uphold the First Amendment, here the United States flag. And then he's got Jesus Christ, who was killed for free speech. And oh, by the way, we're going to silence people for mundane, arbitrary reasoning. That, to me, is not just immature, not just thin-skinned, but it's hypocritical, and it's a word beyond, I'm going to say my vocabulary, where I'm saying, hey, brother, you're doing something wrong here. You're violating what the symbols that you're wielding and that you're presenting. You're violating everything that they stand for, and you're actually a front. You're a fake, and you're a fucking fraud, is what you are. If you're going to invoke those symbols, and then you're going to fucking silence people in your chat for arbitrary, stupid fucking reasons, then you're not just a little bitch. You know what I'm saying? You're a fucking hypocritical little bitch. That's my point.
1 minute.
Go ahead.
Okay.
My Spurg is done. Thanks.
Big Soda, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, your time starts now.
All right. Thank you, Emmett, for hosting this debate on free speech. Thank you, my opponent, Steelman, for taking the opportunity to debate me. My opponent has been whining about my free speech for some time now. He has come to believe that the private sector has an ethical duty to protect and allow the same protections of the First Amendment to private entities. He's lashed out at mods and channels for not respecting this ethical duty while ignoring the fact that these channels have ethical and legal responsibilities to curate, edit, and censor content that the creator could be liable for. My opponent may argue the Section 230 clause to try and make the publisher versus platform argument. Emmett, I will ask you a series of questions. Emmett, do you create content?
Yep.
Do you have ownership over the content you create?
I do.
Who is ultimately responsible for your content?
I am ultimately responsible.
Now that we've established content creators, even those who host open forum debates are publishers, not platforms. They are liable for the content, meaning they have the same ethical duty to censor as you are trying to claim that they have to protect speech. If it is true that the private domain had an ethical duty to protect free speech, then the moderator would have an ethical duty to protect slanderous speech, doxing, ad hominems, irrelevant debate dialogue, segual, and inappropriate comments, harmful speech aimed at the channel, hypothetical harmful speech toward children, and the list goes on. But for the sake of argument, let's say I concede every point I've made and grant you the ethical duty to protect speech in the private domain. You would still be beholden to the time, place, and manner restrictions. For example, you going into lower classes stream saying Jesus is a commie would fall under that restriction and be eligible for censorship under the time, place, and manner provision independently. Since that restriction also provides alternate methods of free expression and appeals to public interest, those restrictions are valid under your own logic. As you can see, this is no more than an emotional appeal to Stillman's misunderstanding of free speech and what liberty stands for. And that's all for my opening.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So both of you were below the time. At this point, I am willing to open this. If we can keep interruptions to a minimum, let the other person speak, that will be great. If I see that somebody is speaking way too long, I will let them know that they're speaking way too long to let the other person speak. And if we cannot get an agreement, I'll start a timer on my own, which I hope we can avoid. Saying that, I think the panel is open for both of you.
All right. Well, I'll just kind of respond to what you said then, which was I felt like you kind of leaned a lot toward the legalities of it, right? And that's totally off the table, right? So this is why the prompt specifies that it literally specifies that it has nothing to do with legalities and everything to do with ethics. So of course there's no legal obligation, and that's why I said we can have that debate next about the legal obligations and what they should and shouldn't be, right? But right now we're talking about the ethical obligations, and I'm saying that the ethical obligations are that when you present, it is not just a private forum, as you tried to sort of. It's not a private club, okay? It's not a membership type forum. This is a public-facing a forum, and it is publicly accessible. And and I'm sure these videos are the ones in this sort of scenario that we're discussing, because in the truth reality it was, they're put in the public domain, or for public. They're not listed as unlisted, they're not listed as private, they're listed as public videos at the end after the live. And anyone can join. They're titled open panels, which is, let's just say in our scenario again, to sort of add these caveats so that there's no discrepancies, right? When they're even titled open panel, right? And they're formed, displayed as open debate forums, right? They're given this image that it's open to the public, it's civic square, it's open discourse, this is healthy discourse. In fact, here we have the United States flag showing you that this is the foundation of our, principles of our revolutionary, our revolution and our founders. And and then we have the Marine Corps flag here, where we actually took an oath to defend and uphold these principles. And then, we have symbols of claiming that we're, Christians here and whatnot, and Jesus actually died for free speech. So, like, when we come, when what it's presented as is, this is a hardcore free speech platform, and everyone is welcome to come and speak, right? And then what you're saying is, yeah, no, you can censor certain things, like, like you said, like, these things that are basically that SCOTUS, let's just give it a rundown, that SCOTUS has ruled not protected speech, right? Or
Well, they
even
are.
TOS.
Everything I listed is all protected under the SCOTUS field of free speech.
Well, no,
Yes.
you mentioned you mentioned like slander and libel and shit. That's not protected speech.
No, actually on like
You mentioned doxing. That's not protected.
doxing, yes it is.
Well, I thought no, I thought I'm. Oh,
Doxing
maybe
is only a TOS.
Oh, I thought it was like a civil. I don't know.
Nope.
I thought it was a civil action. Okay, so I mean, I don't know about doxing, but when you said slander and libel, those are definitely civil. So I mean, I'd have to get into the nuances, but what I want to touch on is I'm agreeing with what you're saying as far as if it's if they are legally bound to, I'm not telling these people, hey, go outside, get your channel. They're going above and beyond what the law is requiring, what TOS is requiring. They're going to censor even further. And what I'm saying is, if you're going to have what is presented to be a public forum of a public debate, and you're invoking these symbols that represent free speech and actually martyrs of free speech, and then you're suppressing people for reasons that are very arbitrary, very silly. Like you can have mods in there that they're just, they'll just mod people, or they'll just, time people out and stuff nilly-willy, right? Not any serious reason, and I think that's sort of an undisputed fact. And if it's not, we can lay that on the table. But the hosts of these channels that I'm referring to, they're okay with these mods nilly-willy, banning or timing people out. And I'm saying, no, you as a leader of this space, invoking these symbols, have an obligation, ethically, to stand up for what those symbols represent,
Well,
and to stand up for what you're presenting.
We're kind of going in a lot of different directions. One, I would say this is a problem of comparing a legal framework to something as an ethical duty. The problem with the legal framework is we're comparing things that only restrict the government but doesn't restrict the right of the people. For you to say that, I guess, the chat room is an open forum, well, yes and no, because the problem is the content, or the content that's on this platform, using Emmet's channel as an example, Emmet's ultimately responsible for. He's the one that will face all the responsibility of what people say or do on his stream. And so if he has that responsibility, he is no longer the platform, he is a publisher, meaning that he has the duty to curate, edit, and delete any content that could find him liable or at fault in any situation. And
Okay, I just want to touch on that because you mentioned that before, and I want to steer us clear away from that so that you know exactly, so we can so the waters aren't muddied, right? I'm not talking about anything that can get these people in trouble. I'm talking about words or things within the open debate forum that they decide we're just going to ban this person because we kind of disagree, or because someone we have a mod who likes it, who's just ban happy and he just likes to fuck around, or timeout happy and he just likes to fuck with people. They're literally okay with that. This is not something that's going to get them in trouble. This isn't speech that's going to come back on them. And this is the speech I'm talking about. If it was speech that was going to come back on them from a higher up and say, you are now in trouble for this speech, then I concede to all that. But with the speech I'm talking about is when they're going above and beyond all that and they're saying, we're just going to willy-nilly sort of at the whim and laugh about it and think it's okay and accept it and just time people out who we don't like or who the mods don't like on an arbitrary basis for no good reason. And while invoking these symbols, while presenting this self as an panel, open debate forum, invoking, again, these symbols. So
you're saying
that
Emmet doesn't have an ethical duty to protect speech?
well, sure, Emmet does, but I'm saying the more you stack these symbols, the more you are going to be held accountable to what those symbols represent.
Well, okay, so you use the word when you invoke these symbols. Every time you invoke a symbol, does that mean you must adhere to the ideology behind the symbol?
No, so I just said that sort of as a summary. What I mean is they actually are like foundational to the platform and its imagery, right? So like this is all because we're actually referring specifically to two channels, right, that have the United States flag as their backdrop often, or as part of their main imagery, right? United States figures, like historical presidents, as we discussed, and also this idea that they're somehow Christians, and also the symbol of the Bible reading, Jesus Christ, things like that, right? So you stack all these symbols, Jesus being the martyr, and the Marine flag, right? The Marine flag is nothing but an oath of office that says, I swore to uphold and protect this, and to kill and to die for it. And now here I am, presenting myself as an open market forum, and yet, I mean, if you give, like the Greeks, for example, I mean, I'm not like a, Greek historian or anything, but the idea of this open market, open discourse, this is what fed the Republic, right? This wasn't something that was just, restricted by the government. It was because it was expected by the citizens that we would allow that in public, right? But and if he wants to say and present himself as, yeah, this is a censored room, and we're not really, we just laugh about these symbols that we invoke. We don't really stand for what the Marines swore an oath to. We don't really stand for what Jesus being a martyr was for. We don't really stand for the principles of what the United States was founded upon. And we don't really stand for, the open discourse that Abraham Lincoln and our founding fathers expected and represented. Then I get that. Then I don't take you that seriously. But you know what I'm saying?
Let's talk about these symbols. Did Abraham?
Just
sorry.
one point, real quick. Steelman, if you try to be a little bit briefer, BigSoda is trying to give you time to speak. But you're repeating yourself a lot, so let's try to keep it briefer if possible. Okay.
With the symbols, has Abraham Lincoln ever suppressed speech?
Oh, so as far as I know, and I'd have to look at the history, but as far as I know, that they all believed, that a marketplace of idea was principle, and that when speech stopped is when violence starts,
Well, that didn't really answer my question. Did Abraham Lincoln suppress speech?
So he may have, and he may have been a tyrant of, he was killed. I mean, when he was killed, he was called a tyrant. So there's different political views, and if you I don't know the answer to this question. If you do, you can lay it on the table.
Okay. Abraham Lincoln arrested multiple journalists who were called Confederate sympathizers. He's arrested both the Maryland legislature for also being Confederate sympathizers. He pretty much declared habeas corpus, that he could push through any trial when it came to people who were also either being supportive of the Confederate or aiding the Confederate directly. Let's move on to the Marine Corps.
Hold on a second, because what you just said, I still didn't hear anything about. I didn't hear anything about speech. Can you repeat that in layman's terms? Can you repeat what you said, because I didn't understand how that related to free speech at all.
Okay. Abraham Lincoln arrested people like journalists and private citizens for being Confederate sympathizers, meaning they talked supportive for the Confederacy. Is that free speech or is that
Okay, because
anti-free speech?
okay, because I thought you said aiding and abetting, you know.
Yeah, I said when he arrested the Maryland legislator, he arrested them for being supportive. Hang on. He arrested the Maryland legislature for being both supportive of the Confederacy and for aiding and abetting the
See, so that's the
government.
caveat there. See, that's the caveat
But
there.
I gave
Of course,
three.
aiding and abetting. No,
Well,
that's
I
the
gave
caveat.
three.
See, so don't gloss that over.
But I gave
Don't
three
gloss.
examples, and you're just picking one and saying,
Well,
"Hey,
hold on a second. Okay, well, hold on a second. Aiding and abetting. I'm not talking about aiding and abetting is not free speech. I'm not saying that aiding and abetting, criminals and terrorists and all that shit is a form of free speech. I'm saying using words. But aiding and abetting, if he's charging people with aiding and abetting, a wartime enemy or something like that, not that I'm for any of that, but I'm saying that's a different situation. So you know what I'm saying?
but see, you're picking and choosing what you have a
No.
problem with." I
Well,
gave
no, I'm
multiple
saying,
examples.
okay, but well, that's the one that I heard. So can we say that example that you gave was null and void?
Well, no, because he also arrested them for being sympathetical to the Confederacy, meaning they were talking in support of the Confederacy.
No. But see, you're extrapolating what meaning sympathetic was. But when you attach sympathetic to aiding and abetting, we
I
don't
didn't
know.
catch them. I didn't catch them.
You're not.
Associating.
But you're not giving a direct. It might not be related to speech, right? You can confirm that the example you gave does not directly indicate that it was related to free speech.
No, you're just cherry picking the fact that I said
I'm
also aiding and abetting as though that's specifically different than
okay.
suppressing that speech.
Well, what I'm saying is, from what you said, I didn't hear anything about free speech. But let's just say, let me just go with you on this so that we don't get stuck on this point, right? I'm going to say that, yeah, if you want to say that Abe was some sort of tyrant of suppressing free speech, then then I'm not going to necessarily disagree with you. I could concede to say, okay, if this guy wants to portray the fact that he's some sort of tyrannical suppressor of free speech,
Perfect.
then
Let's move on to the next symbol then. The U.S. flag represents the U.S. government. Does the U.S. government have a tendency to suppress speech?
well, hold on a second. The U.S. flag, you say, is a symbol of the U.S. government, but when it's invoked in a certain way, it's not always a symbol of the U.S. government. It's a symbol of what the U.S. government is in its founding principles are supposed to stand for.
Well, let's
So I
talk about
agree.
those principles. I will say to those principles, you know that 75 to 80% of these principles that were founded through our founding fathers who wrote their state constitutions and the United States constitutions all had blasphemy and vulgarity laws inside their state constitution.
I'm not sure, but now we can get into, or now we're kind of getting into what is and is not absolute speech, I guess, right? Which I would
No,
love. We're going down that route, and I would love to, but I don't want to go too far down that route of what should and
I
should
would
not be
say it
legal.
doesn't necessarily tie to absolute speech. It's laws that directly contradict the freedom of speech that's laid out in the United States Constitution.
Okay, so you're saying that there's laws that there's laws that contradict the Constitution.
That means
Okay,
the founding principles that we had do not establish that. I guess our founding fathers contradicted themselves in their state constitution versus the United States Constitution.
okay, yeah, and I guess that would be why he's waving the U.S. flag, right? Because the U.S. flag, it wasn't some state flag that had these laws, and B,
But those are
because
the founding principles, right? Because they're from the founding fathers, correct?
well, I mean, I see what you're talking about is you're sort of making up this situation, saying this is the case. I don't know what state you're talking about or who enacted that Constitution, or if they were one of the writers of the U.S. Constitution or anything like that. So I can't speak on.
Good, I have a list. Massachusetts, John Adams, Samuel Adams, John Hancock. We've got New Hampshire. We've got Josiah Bartlett and Matthew Thornton. We've got New Jersey, John Witherspoon, Richard Stockton. We've got Pennsylvania.
Sorry, can you just slow
Benjamin
down and
Franklin.
kind of explain what you're? Can you just kind of slow down and first explain what you're trying to? What
I'm
you're saying?
stating all the states that have inside their state constitution both blasphemy laws, which are laws that are blasphemy toward the state religion, and I have vulgarity laws that could wind you up in jail or fines based on your speech.
Okay, so yeah, okay, so we can discuss this a little bit then. Where you're going with this is that historically, yeah, some of the principles are a little bit, we've modernized them, right? Like, for example, even though they wrote in there that we were endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights and whatnot, that wasn't like applied to slavery, for example, right? That's kind of what you're getting at, is that, so yeah, and then we realized, well, hey, that's wrong, and the Supreme Court at one point had ruled, and we had states laws and all that had enacted segregation laws and whatnot, right? And we said, you know what, that they were that when they said all men were created equal, they meant all men, right? And when and so even though they didn't enact that in practice, right, they meant it in the documents. And when they wrote that we have the right to free speech, maybe that wasn't enacted in reality, but it was meant in the documents. And you can see how over time it moved, right? So we had rulings, for example, in the early 90s, where it was the Chaplinsky, ruling, where he called the cop a damn fascist, and he was arrested, went up to the Supreme Court, and that's where we get what our inciting or our fighting words doctrine from. The Supreme Court upheld his conviction for calling the cop a damn fascist. But nowadays, if you were to call a cop a damn fascist and they tried to arrest you, the whole world would be in an uproar, laughing and saying that's protected free speech. And they'd say, no, it's not, according to Chaplinsky, because Chaplinsky was written by a bunch of racist, judges during the Civil War era, right? And so.
So what you're saying is these are not principles of our founding fathers.
Well, what I'm saying is, they are the principles ingrained in the documents, right, of the founding, that the founding fathers wrote for our nation, and that they basically seeded into the seeds of this nation, and they've grown into what they have, which is these principles of, yeah, we should be able to call a cop a damn fascist, and in fact, that's one of the most, so even though the old books might say we can't, we realize that that's what they meant, that we, in order to have liberty, in order to have freedom, right, in order to have a non-totalitarian government, we need to have open discourse. We need to be able to say things, and people need to have thick skin and not just get butthurt or get violent over words.
Well, first of all, free speech only applies to the government. It doesn't apply to anyone outside of the government. It's only a restriction because the principle of free speech is only supposed to be targeted at the government. Once it's targeted at citizens and individuals and private entities, it's no longer it's no longer the principle of free speech. That's something entirely different. If you're advocating for something entirely different or some ethical duty to something entirely different, then I guess you would have to build that framework. But as of right now, free speech doesn't apply to anything but the restriction of the government.
Yeah, so I would say that Charlie Kirk, for example, I think that you can see he's a great example of someone who is a symbol of someone who was a martyr of free speech. Yet the government didn't kill him, and isn't that interesting? So it doesn't take a government actor to suppress somebody's freedom of speech, and that's really what's going on here.
But that's a subjective term, because if someone could say he died for his free speech, but in reality, no, he just died for his speech. There's no, you're adding the free speech element, but no, he just died for his speech. It's not that he died for his free speech. No, it's just he died for his speech.
Okay, yeah, right. He was killed for his speech, and I guess if the government killed him, he wouldn't really be killed for his free speech either, right? You would be killed for his speech.
No,
So,
he'd be
but my
killed for his free speech because that would be the government actively suppressing someone's speech. That would be the difference is when the government does it versus a private entity does it.
but he still see, the thing is, here's the thing. You don't okay, here's the thing. Rights, as our government pointed out, we're endowed by our rights by our creator, right? The government does not grant us rights. Would you agree?
Yep.
Okay, so when the government says we have the right to free speech, they're saying you have been endowed by your creator with the right to free speech. The government doesn't give us that. We
No, the
have that
government
right.
can't take that away from us. That's what the
Exactly.
Constitution says. It strictly doesn't say anything about private entities
So,
taking away free speech. It just says the
so do we,
government can't take that away.
right, do we have that right or not?
What do you? Okay, well, let's look at it. Does the Constitution say a private entity can't suppress someone else's speech?
Sorry, what's that? I
I
wasn't sure
said,
what you meant by that or something.
you're fine. Does the Constitution say that a person cannot suppress someone else's free speech?
Well,
The government can only speak for the government. So the government is speaking for itself when it says
right,
the government cannot restrict your free speech. It doesn't say anything about a private
right.
citizen restricting someone else's free speech.
No, I get what you're saying. That because, I mean, the government or the Constitution is simply just sort of endowing the federal government with powers. Right. It's not
No,
really creating
it's
criminal statutes.
the bill. I guess the amendment, like the first, I think 10 amendments are just restrictions against the government. It's not saying what the government can do. It's telling the government what it can't do.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I meant yeah. So. Okay. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, yeah, it's just basically, yeah, it's creating powers for them and sort of trying to limit those powers, but it's not creating criminal code or criminal statute, right? That's to be done later. So, so right. So it said, look, we have the right to bear arms and all that shit. We have the right to free speech, for example. Let's just stick there. I don't want to go too far off the rails. And so I'm saying that, yeah, as people, as men, we have the right to free speech, man to man. This is another thing, right? If this was some like old lady and her, and she's whatever, right? But I'm talking man to man, my age, mano to mano or whatever. Like I'm telling them, I'm trying to say, like, guys, if we want to have an open discourse, if we want to have open panels, if we want to consider ourselves real men actually invoking the symbols that we represent, then we should not be so thin-skinned as to, laugh about somebody's freedom of speech being suppressed on our open-faced, public-facing open forum.
But why they have a duty to suppress that speech?
No, they don't have a duty to suppress it.
They do. They
No,
are publishers.
there is some speech that they have a duty to suppress that you're saying, which is very rare. I don't think I've ever actually seen any chat that required suppression. But
You mean that's
say
why
that
they
there
have
is.
mods, correct?
No, the mods, they have the mods so that the mods, honestly, the mods are just so out of pocket. They don't need that many mods. How many times have you ever seen, I've seen lots of mods delete lots of chats, but I've never seen a mod delete a chat that needed to be deleted. Have you?
That's up to the mod and the standard in which
No,
they want to allow speech
no,
in chat.
no.
Yes.
No, but
Yes.
no, to your standard. No, hold on. Here, let me backtrack. Don't let me lose you on this point because you said it was a legal thing that they had a requirement, upheld by like TOS and all this shit. And I'm saying that's not up to mod discretion. They're all held. That's a bar that we can all look at and say, okay, here's TOS. We all have the same bar. It's a due process thing, right? But when you go into someone else's channel, like these ones that we're talking about, there's no due process. There's no set standard. It's just you might arbitrarily get banned for speech just because they don't like your opinion or because they don't like your fucking hairdo or whatever reason it is. And I'm saying, then this so-called open panel, open discourse, fucking United States liberty, I swear an oath to protect bullshit is all it is a bunch of bullshit, and it's a facade, and I see through it, and the people that come in there and don't see it, it's because they haven't seen what's going on and they're being tricked. So what I'm saying is you're either going to continue to be a fake fraud and trick people coming in thinking they're entering an open discourse market, or you're going to man up and say, you know what, you're right, my mods are out of pocket, I need to tell them to stop. Not that big of a deal.
Is TOS a legal responsibility or an ethical responsibility?
Yeah, well, it's sort of a little bit of both, I would say, because again, when we're saying TOS, I'm saying, yeah, if they want to control within the lines of TOS, I think they should. Why? Because then the person can maintain on the platform, right? If it's going to be something that's going to remove them from the platform, obviously then that gets everybody's voice taken off, so that would be contrary to having open Discord. So what I'm saying is, I'm not advocating to get platforms removed or to violate TOS or to break any laws set up by even SCOTUS, even if I disagree with them. I'm saying follow all the laws, follow all the TOS, but you should still not set further boundaries or arbitrary boundaries or even very thin-skinned, to the point where we're actually joking about it, where it's just become this, we don't care, we just let mods ban whimsically. And that's what would you agree? Can we talk about, because you keep taking it to this extreme, right? Talk to me about what I'm saying, where I'm saying they're just banning them whimsically, or at their, I'm saying, I want to give you like solid examples, but you get what I'm saying, I hope, just in good faith.
I do get what you're saying. I get that there are examples of mods deleting comments that are silly, goofy, and I wouldn't advocate for it. The only problem is this is a private domain. This is Emmet's private channel. So whatever Emmet wants to allow, that is his ethical duty to allow it to his supporters. It's his ethical duty to allow it for himself, for YouTube, for legal reasons.
Well, hold
There's
on.
a lot
I'm
of
not saying
ethical
Emmett, though.
duties. I'm
I'm
saying
not saying
anyone.
Emmett.
I'm saying
No,
anyone.
no. But I'm not saying anyone. The prompt specifies not anyone. It's saying people who are, foundational to their channel are symbols like the United States flag in particular, the Marine flag in particular, the Bible and Christianity in particular. And I think we had some more terms like open panel, open discussion. These terms are what stack the deck against it. Emmett has no obligation at all, because Emmett's not pretending like he is invoking some other form of free speech. That's why he's not obligated to.
Okay, let me use an actual example, a real world example. So when you were booted off lower classes channel, was it an open panel or was it a Bible read? Were we reading the Bible or were we openly chatting about religion?
I don't recall the exact context. All I recall is that it was somebody else who was booted, and then I pointed out that he was booted, and then, then they kicked me off for pointing it out. And the fact of the matter is that you got to, and because it was like a little Bible study or whatever you want to call it, and it was like an open panel, like, yeah, you can go on his panel, but I think, at the time, and the thing was that Jesus went in. This is why I'm sensitive to it from that perspective in particular, because what did Jesus do during the open panels of the Jews, right? He walked into their temple, and he flipped over their tables, and that was my point to lower class was, look, you've got a guy coming in here during your little open panel and flipping your little table, and are you really just going to respond like they did back then? Or are you going to be like, hey, maybe I should respond like Jesus would?
If Jesus was having a sermon and someone came up and was trying to troll or get a provocative reaction out of him, do you think he would have engaged with it, ignored it, or kicked it out?
Okay, well, let's talk about that. So I think there's a difference between trolling and provocating. I think, because
Provocative,
uh,
yeah.
well, I don't know. I'm trying to use it in another tense, because
Oh, okay.
he's being provocative. Yeah, he's like provocating or whatever, right? And what I'm saying is he's going in there trying to instigate some sort of thought process, right? Maybe
Do you
break
know
them
that, or are
out.
you assuming that?
No, I'm assuming that by the word, like trying to be provocative, right? He's going in there not trolling, but going in there with something of substance that might actually trigger somebody to think differently. That's being provocative, right?
Well, I
And so
mean, do you know that? But what I'm saying is you're assuming that. I'm saying, do you know that?
No, I'm saying I don't know what the definition of the word provocative is, but I'm
No,
going
I'm
off
not
of what you
asking you for
said.
the definition. I'm asking, do you know that's what he was doing, or are you implying the intent that you think that's what he was doing?
Well, oh yeah, so I don't know. I know that I think that was his intent, but the other thing is that I've seen it where they'll ban. Okay, yeah. Where I'm saying, yeah. What if where like if somebody says something like the whole what we're talking about, in case nobody's up to date, is the whole thing about Jesus is a communist, right? The reason it's a perfect example is because it's just one little short, sweet sentence. It's like it might be provocative, it might like it's just it's a debatable topic, right? It gives you something to think about. Was Jesus? I don't fucking know if he was. Maybe he was. Maybe he wasn't. I don't really know, right? So it's like, hey, maybe something to debate about. And if he wasn't, he wasn't. That's great. I'd love to hear about it. If someone has a point, if someone thinks he was, I'd love for them to tell me why, right? And so it's not just like he's trolling with some bullshit like ad hom or some spamming the text or derailing the conversation, right? He's just sort of adding a little bit of his character to the open panel verse, right? And we're just gonna be like, oh, well, I got a wrench, so I'm just gonna block you from the chat. And they think it's funny because they have a wrench, but what they're doing is they're destroying the mods and the hosts' credibility. I mean, they're destroying the channels and the hosts' credibility. They're destroying the fans that want to be there. They're destroying the discourse within the chat, because one of the reasons that people come to these panels is because they like to interact with the other people in the chat, not just because they like to listen to us, right? Spurg forever. They like to talk to each other, and when we go in there and just block them out of the chat, we take that person away from everybody else within the chat, and we remove, and then they may never come back, and we destroy the community, and we destroy the open Discord, and we take that person's other opinions that they might have had, and we silence them, possibly forever, because they may never want to come back, and even if they do come back, then they might feel like their speech is chilled. And I'm saying, how are we ever going to have an open discourse? We're trying to destroy big media. We're trying to destroy the right, left paradigm and all that shit. We're trying to get some discord going. And then behind the scenes, it's being suppressed. And I'm like, dude, that's some dark shadow shit that we need to fucking cut out.
So if I go into a church and I scream or I say Jesus is a commie, and it starts disrupting the people who are actively trying to listen in the chat and engage with the chat just because one person said what wild thing, does that give the church the right to then remove that person?
Well, so there's, when you get into again, well, like for example, when you get into like the actual, this has been hashed out, right? Where if it's become to a level of disruption, it can, depending on the situation, right? However, uh, however, I would say that you have to look at it from like a real open mind, right? Like not trying to be like, oh, not trying to weaponize it. See what I'm saying? You have to be in good faith. A lot of these people come in bad faith and they try to weaponize this shit, and then it ruins it for everyone. They say, "Oh, he's disrupting." No, he's not disrupting. And say you go into a church and you say that, and you get a lot of people intrigued by it, you know, and they want to talk to you about it, and it's starting to, like you would say, sort of disrupt the sermon, not because you're sitting there yelling, but because you said one little thing that all of a sudden triggered a bunch of people to think some type of way. Uh, can you
Who
blame the person
determines a
because,
disruption? Who
right?
determines what's a disruption and what's not a disruption? Is it the host and the mods and the people who are actively performing the service, or is it the person who's saying the disruptive thing?
Well, okay, yeah. So I want to, I wish I had like all the answers to that, but I keep wanting to go back to this parable or this picture, right, of Jesus flipping the tables, right? And I'm saying, I think that at that point, he was a disruption, according to all of our standards, right? Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, and so should we have just kicked Jesus out from the temple grounds and went about and cleaned up the tables and went about our business? Was that what the Jews should have done?
In America, what would happen if you did that?
No, yeah, exactly. So you're saying that well, if we did that, then we would have taken him to jail. They would have cleaned it up. And then they would have went back about their business. And that's what I'm saying needs. That's what you're saying needs to happen. And I'm saying, do you really think invoking the Christian symbol that's really what should happen?
I think I don't think Jesus is advocating for me to do that. I think Jesus did that as his own statement. I mean, I don't think this is something that Jesus advocates us to go and then disrupt and cause problems in society just because we're not getting our way. I think Jesus
No.
had Jesus cre- uh,
Hold on.
Jesus
You
performed.
just poisoned the well with that not getting our way. It's not because we're just not getting our way.
That's
See,
exactly
why'd you
what it
poison the
is.
well?
I
Hold on a
didn't.
second. No one's trying to go around and just disrupt panels because they're angry they're not getting their way.
That
That's total
actively happens.
mischaracterization.
No, 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 that actively happens. People come on these panels in StreamYard,
But
they
that's
join
not what.
them and then
But
they disrupt the panel just because it's what they want to do. But it's not the panel's job to then put up with it.
but okay. But let's get okay. But what I'm saying is the people who come in and aren't trying to disrupt the panel. Like here, let me give you another example. They call it what, simping. These mods call it simping, right? So if there's like any girls in the panel verse, right, and you try and you talk, if any guys talk to any girls in the panel verse, like half these channels, these mods will block or ban or time out the guys. You know, they're like, nope, you can't talk to girls. That's simping, and they'll time them out and shit. And it's like, dude, what is going on here? Like this, dude, you guys need to get these mods under control. This is it's more than immature, is what I'm saying. It's downright fucking disgraceful to what we're calling an open debate forum, you know, and displaying as liberty of grown, mature men who are willing to have discord and put our ideas to scrutiny, right? Instead of just blocking people.
I mean, do you have an example of this? Like, it's because this seems kind of anecdotal. It doesn't really seem like it's kind of because I guess my next question would be, well, is the person engaging with the female in ways that aren't productive to the actual discussion of the debate?
No, okay, you keep okay, because we hashed this out in the beginning, and I wish that you would stop obfuscating from the fact that these mods. What I'm saying is, they're doing it indiscriminately, they're doing it whimsically, they're doing it arbitrarily. Do you think that's okay?
I think they have the power granted to them by the mod or by the channel host to do that.
Okay, so then let's stick with that so that we're not getting caught in the details of the other shit real quick. Okay, so and I'm saying that if the mod, uh, yeah, and I'm saying that if the host is going to invoke and stack certain symbols that represent certain things, I think that they have an ethical obligation to tell their mods and to control their mods more on their speech. Obviously, I do because that's the prompt, right? And I'm saying that so if they're going to be whimsically and all that stuff, uh, doing all that shit, I'm saying that I'm telling these panel hosts, man to man, I'm saying, dude, your channel, it's not logically consistent. It's logically inconsistent, right?
See, the problem is these symbols don't represent what you're trying to make them represent. And none of the symbols that you listed represent free speech in any way.
Okay. So if I concede to your point, which is where I first went into this, and argued to him, I said, look, you're wearing an Abe Lincoln hat. He was a tyrant. You're sporting the Marine flag. They're a bunch of tyrants. You're sporting the U.S. flag. That's a terrorist flag. Look at you, you big tyrannical terrorist. And then he tried to explain to me why he's not and why all of these symbols actually mean good things. And then I bought into the bullshit and I said, okay, you know what? You're right. You did it all for fucking honor and good, and you stand for liberty and freedom. And by God, you're, honorable Abe, honest Abe. I get it. I'm here. Let's do this. Open panel Discord, open debate forum. Fuck yeah, here we are. Open market, place of ideas. And then it's we're just gonna you can say what you want on open panel, but we're just gonna silence you people in the chat, you know. And then what's really sad is, so for the people in the chat, like, I don't mind getting it. Then I got to get up on panel and spend my night up on channel bitching about mods, right? There's people who don't want to get up on panel and who don't get up on panel. And so what happens to them? They just get banished in chat and they never fucking come back. You never fucking hear from them. And it's sad and it's bullshit and it pisses me off because now I never get to meet those people. I never get to hear their ideas. And now I'm living in a fucking echo chamber, and it's like, fine. They're like, if we don't like it, leave. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to leave, but I'm leaving a circle that I thought was cool, a circle that I thought we could all be fucking homies. We all had the same ideas and the same principles because we're all sort of invoking and standing by what appear to be these same symbols. And yet now we're conflicted on this one thing of what we're conflicted on this one point, right? One point of contention, which is should we just arbitrarily ban people in chat or not? And I'm saying no, and they're saying yeah. And I'm saying, why are you guys being so fucking immature about this shit? Let people talk.
Well, see, the problem is you think you have a right to talk, and no, when it comes to private domains, you have the privilege to talk. You do not have the right. You think that just because the government has or doesn't have the right to restrict your free speech, you think you can take this into any private domain and demand that your speech be heard, and that's not how our legal system operates, and there's no ethical duty for us to adhere to that.
Yeah. So again, yeah, and because again, I don't think that I have the right to do that, but I think that in order to defend, what our in order to defend our democracy, in our republic, then it's crucial that we have this open Discord, this marketplace of ideas. It's called like the civic square, basically, and if that's what we present this stuff as, is some sort of like civic square, where we can have a clash of ideas and people and ideas can be held to scrutiny.
That only applies to the public, though. That doesn't apply to private domains.
Oh, but what I'm saying is, but the principles, it goes back to like, that's why I brought the Greeks, because if we get back to the Republic and free speech and open Discord and debate and all this stuff, it all goes back to, well, I don't know, it may go back to wherever, but as far as I'm talking about, going back there, I'm just saying that was one of the things that, again, I'm not saying that it's law, I'm saying it's foundational to us as citizens. Right? Yeah, we have restricted the government workers, but us as citizens now have this obligation to still stand by these principles. And I'm not saying we can go into Abe's home and say whatever we want, or go into whoever's home and say whatever we want. But what I am saying is that when they're presenting themselves in the open, publicly accessible, open to the public, anyone can come in and speak, invoking these symbols, presenting themselves as an open debate civic square, but behind the scenes they're silently suppressing people. I'm saying this looks ugly to me. This looks like it could create tyranny, and in fact, it has created levels of tyranny. In fact, it's the stepping stones of tyranny, and we're at the bottom of the like foundation, like of the government, right? Like if we're the founders, you know what I mean? We're thinking on the base level. So if we can't step out of tyranny, if we can't keep tyranny out of our circles, how can we possibly keep it out of the higher levels? We have to kill this tyrannical bug while it's still small.
10 more minutes.
I mean, the only problem with this concept is you keep applying tyranny to the private domain, and I'm not sure why you feel like there's an obligation for us to protect speech if we don't want to allow it in our own private domain. Like you keep asserting the public understanding of how we operate when when we operate in public spaces or government agreed open spaces, and then you're then applying them to these open panels. But see, the problem with that is every person who runs an open panel allows someone to come on. So inherently, they're allowing you to have free speech. You don't have this open right to free speech. They have to allow it. StreamYard, Discord, all these places, the individual person who's hosting it has the right to bring you up
Okay,
or drop you
yes,
down.
but it's supposed to be a symbiotic relationship, right? If we all didn't, YouTube's allowing us to on their platform, but if we didn't go on their platform, if nobody went on their platform, they wouldn't have a platform, or they, you know what I mean?
Correct.
And so when I go onto somebody's panel or whatever, I do so to add value, right? I'm not going there to just take from them. So while they are allowing me on their platform, I am also allowing them to platform me. And it's not, I'm not just saying, what I'm getting at is that that's how all speech should be taken as, is that yes, they're allowing people to be platformed, but we should be grateful that these people want to come on and express their views to us. We should be grateful that they're platforming themselves for us.
Your problem, but still, your problem is YouTube's a platform. The individual content creators are the publishers that exist inside the platform. Your argument should be faced at YouTube, but not at the individual content creators. You're
No,
asserting that you have the right to use this platform, and if you don't, then they go out of business. But see, the problem is
no.
the content creators publish information. They publish content. So they don't have that same inherent right to protect your speech.
Well, I'm not saying that I have the right. I'm not saying that anyone has. I'm not talking about rights here, right? I'm saying that there's an ethical obligation to allow open discord in this for these specific people who are presenting themselves as people who are willing to put their ideas to scrutiny. People who are supposed to be tough-skinned people who represent liberty, who are invoking these symbols, particularly like the flag and like Christianity. And the reason there is. Yeah, I'm holding their feet to the fire more because they're invoking the flag and they're invoking the idea of open panel, open discord, willing to listen to ideas. If it was somebody that wasn't saying that those things, I would get it. They're not putting on a front, but I feel like they're fronting. Now, if there was a truth factor on there that said, "Look, we suppress speech here," then yeah, that would let people know right away. Disclaimer: we suppress speech here. Then people that could come on and be like, "Okay, this is not what it appears to be." You
Well,
know.
I guess the only question I have left for you, what is it that you think liberty means? Because you seem to have a different definition of liberty than our founding fathers originated with.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was like just kind of like generalizing it as like, the ability to do things that aren't infringing upon other people's, you know, uh, rights, basically, that aren't causing anybody else harm, doing what
Because
you want without causing harm.
Thomas Jefferson, one of the, I guess, he isn't the person that coined the phrase, but he wrote a lot about what liberty is, and the way he described liberty is when the government fears the people, that is liberty. When the people fear the government, that is tyrannical. And so
Okay,
he described it as the relationship between
thank you.
people and the government. And see, the problem is he
That's
never
beautiful.
described that same tyranny to people versus people.
No, 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 you did great though. No, no, because that was actually okay. Can you read that again for us?
Uh,
The
Thomas Jefferson described liberty as when the people, or he described liberty as when the government fears the people, that is liberty.
Thank you.
When people fear the government, that is tyranny. And I think
Thank
he
you. Okay,
made
so
that in his state when he spoke about the state constitution.
yeah, and so that's how I really feel about it, and that's why when Abe heard me call him a tyrant, and I mean it because once somebody gets suppressed in the chat, it creates a chilling effect for everybody, and all of a sudden the chat fears the host. The host is who endows all the mods with their power. He's ultimately the hand. They're just his hand, and so that's when it becomes tyrannical. Now, when if the host were to fear the chat and say, "Look at all of these people who are coming into my chat are contributing to my channel, to the Discord, to the community. It is my chat who keeps me on this platform. Without them, I am nothing." But instead, they treat the chat like shit, and they say, "We're just gonna ban you like they're nothing." And that's when those hosts lose the fear of the chat, that's when they become tyrants. Now, you have liberty when the host fears the chat and says, "Look, it is the chat. I will not ban anyone in my chat unless it's the last resort because I'm here. I'm here because of them.
The only problem with that is the reason why Thomas Jefferson wrote this is because when the government restricts your rights or when the government bans you from doing something, there is no possible way to do it without harm. But when a channel bans you or when a channel restricts your speech, there's still a plethora of avenues in which you can take your free speech. That is why the analogy between channel and the government don't mix because
Well,
the time, place, and manner restrictions that are under free speech, you would still have avenues in which you could still have freedom of expression without having your speech repressed.
2 minute
And
warning.
versus when the government does it,
no,
that's
because that's like,
be
okay,
all
it's
end
not
all.
analogous. It's not analogous because that's like saying, well, the government's going to say that you can't have your free speech here, but you can go have it somewhere else. Um, as long as there's somewhere for you to have free speech, then you could always make that argument that they can ban it everywhere because there's always going to be somewhere else that you can invoke at. So that's what you're saying, and that just doesn't. That's a
Well,
fallacy.
no, because that's the time, place, and manner restrictions that the
Right.
government talks about.
So I was going to touch on that. So then when you get into time, place, and manner, that's exactly what I've actually invoked is once you've put yourself at a open panel, gone live, said open debate forum, open panel, here's the United States flag. I've sworn to uphold the Constitution, and I'm a Christian who believes Jesus Christ, who is a martyr for free speech, has died for and is my savior. Now that's the time, place, and manner. Now, when Abe's not live anymore, nope, no more knocking on Abe's door because time, place, and manner restrictions kick in.
Well,
But when his live kicks on and it opens up to the marketplace of ideas and he says open panel and everyone comes on, that's when, okay, free speech time is invoked.
the only problem with that is one of the restrictions in the time, place, and manner restrictions is if you have other avenues to be able to express yourself, that would mean other channels to express yourself, then they have the right to repress your, or I guess restrict your speech.
Yeah, so we'll discuss.
Okay. This is a perfect time for me to jump in for a moment. We already have gone through the 1 hour. Again, did you say each like a final thing in this open segment of the open discussion, and then we can go into closing arguments. So if you wanna say something real quick, Steelman, and then I'll let BigSoda, and then we'll go into closing. Okay. Steelman, you there, buddy?
Stand up.
If not, he probably got a little bit busy. What do you say if we start with your closing statement, BigSoda, since you're gonna go first in the closing?
I think I dominated that debate. I think I did enough to prove that free speech isn't tied to public or the private domain. I think Stillman's just emotional because he got banned off channels. I think, yeah, pretty much I dominated the debate. But go ahead. Sorry, I'm
Stillman,
changing a shitty diaper, so you gotta give me some grace.
Stillman, do you wanna have your closing now?
Yeah, thanks, guys. I apologize.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously I didn't really hear anything that if I missed anything, but I did just want to say that speaking of the time, place, and manner restrictions and stuff, that's why I'm actually trying to help this person catapult themselves to the best version of themselves they can be, right? The best version of their channel that they can have, right? So because like I said, when he turns on his channel and he invokes all these symbols and he goes live and everything, everyone's looking at this like, okay, a Civic Square open panel forum, civic debates ready to go. Like, this is the time, right? When he closes it off, okay, the Civic Square closes. If he wants to really be the Civic Square, he needs to really be the Civic Square, because right now he's fronting like he is a Civic Square and he's not. And I'm trying to help him. I'm trying to say, hey, bro, you're close, bro. You're almost there. You could be the Civic Square, but you're falling short here, and I'm trying to help you. And then I get criticism, and I'm saying, I'm coming to you as a real fucking person in good faith and saying, look, if you want to push this shit to the upper echelon, you cannot be fucking just indiscriminately fucking kicking new people out of chat or anybody out of chat, because you're ruining the Discord for everyone. Not only are you losing good people, but you're ruining the Discord. We want open Discord. We want Civic Square. And when you're laughing at the idea, and when you're laughing at the idea and the ideals and the principles of a Civic Square, now you've just discredited your whole channel.
Okay, we're gonna go into what I will call the open panels portion. Anybody can come up and ask one question. I put the link in the chat so that we can go ahead and get this get this conversation started. I'm hoping that Abe can come up. I'm hoping other people can come up if they want to. And once we are done, I'll probably send you all to Grid. Grid has its debate show today, so you probably want to watch that afterwards. I will ask a question myself to both of you. I have that privilege because I am the host. Um, I'll instead of doing that, Abe, I'll just start a poll. That's easier one. So Steelman, like, do you understand? Do you think we have free speech in YouTube so like, do we have the way to have an actual a way to have free speech in YouTube?
Well, I mean, I think that, yeah, so as long as you're following SCOTUS guidelines and terms of service guidelines, then that's the maximum level of free speech that we're allowed.
When he comes back, if BigSoda is back, I will ask him. Do you think that the mods? Do you think the mods have the should hold those values into consideration when they're doing their job as a way to moderate the chat, or do you think that they have a responsibility in accordance to like TOS or other considerations as to what should happen in chat?
I think the only obligation
Yeah, you muted or something.
Well, Big Soda, you're muted. If you want, so I'll answer for that too,
that
which is that.
I'm back.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
back.
I think the only obligation the mods hold is to the channel, and whatever the channel deems is necessary for them to do, then they do it.
Okay. So I'm gonna give you guys a couple of minutes if you actually want to come up. I know that there's other people. If nobody wants to come up, I don't want to go ahead and make this my debate because that's not my idea. And that would be like the end of this specific debate, and we can move on with our lives and have awesome times. Okay. 10 out of 11 times the host will agree with the mod's decision, and even if he doesn't, he can't. There's a reason why he put it there, and I can go ahead and they have the responsibility to talk to the mods at some point if they think there's a problem. The problem I have with ideas like the Internet Bill of Rights ultimately just appeal to more regulations because that's how it would have to be imposed. What do you think about that? That the problem having a bill of rights on the internet is that there must be way more regulation to impose it. Stillman.
So what's that?
So Wicked Wally says, and I agree with him. This is the problem I have with ideas like an internet bill of rights. You ultimately just appeal for more regulations because that's how it would have to be imposed necessarily.
You're saying should we have internet regulation on free speech?
Well, what he's saying is if you have like a bill of rights, if you have a bill of rights in the internet, what will happen is that it will end up in more regulation.
Oh, yeah, exactly. The Bill of Rights, all that did was fucking regulate everything. Exactly.
Okay.
Because yeah, they said okay, now all the only rights you have are the ones in the Bill of Rights, and we're going to strip those away through SCOTUS. So
Yeah, what I would say is pretty much the same. I would prefer other kind of ideas. Um,
but okay, so I want to, yeah, so mods do have they're just a hand of the host, right?
well,
So I
yeah,
don't look at the mods as anything other than that. So yeah, of course the mods are just a hand of the host. Whatever the host says goes. Whatever the mods do is in the name of the host. And so that's
I
why.
can agree with that. Yeah, although they have like, let me put it this way: if I have a mod and anything happens in my chat, I'm pretty much accepting the fact that I am derelicting some of my duties so that the host can so that they can do something. Okay,
Exactly.
we
You
have
take
a
responsibility for that.
we have a question right now. Abe, would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, I'd like to know if Steelman can explain to me how the Bible, the Constitution, and the Marine Corps flag stand for free speech and private businesses.
Yeah. So, um, well, so we stack those together, right? Okay. So the United States flag sort of stood for the, during the founding of it and whatnot, we had like what the different debates going on about how the Constitution should be written. We had this. There's a lot of open discord within the civic squares, right? And that's sort of the pact that our sort of founders had, right? They weren't like obligated to talk to each other, or this wasn't like a government thing, right? It was a group of like brothers or homies or whatever. I should say not brothers, but I'm just mean like homies that were hashing shit out, right? Open discord debate. They didn't agree on everything. You know what I mean? They disagreed on a lot of things. And,
Well, yeah, just to put
This
it out, is it has to do with private businesses. So how do they
right.
affect
So
it?
what I'm saying is, yeah, Abe. So to Abe, to him, this is all just about money, right? It's all just a business to him. But to everybody else, it's something. It's not just about money, right?
no, it's actually
So
about my space, my channel, my curation
right.
of what I'm creating. And if I intend to create a certain something, I'd like to know where the Constitution, the Bible, or the Marine Corps say that you should have open free
Okay.
speech in a private business or private space.
Okay. Thank you. I was trying to answer that, and then I think you asked me a second question or something. So I was trying to say how our founders, they were in private spaces when they were hashing it out, debating it out. You know what I'm saying? And and what I'm saying is, when you, even though you think of your channel as a business, when we come to your channel, I think a lot of people who are gravitated toward it, they're gravitated toward it because they feel like it's presenting itself as a civic square and like it can operate uh, like a civic square, and it presents itself as such, and so it's kind of what the founders did, right? Especially because it's a lot of politically driven ideas and things like that. So if you want, just like our founders did, get together in a place and debate politics, debate religion, that's what they were doing. That's what people go to your channel to do, right? Then you add the Marine Corps flag on there. The Marine Corps flag is I'm a servant to this Constitution, right? I will fight and defend and die to uphold the principles that this Constitution and yes, it's that the government will not infringe upon our free speech, like you're saying. And what I'm saying is it's the principles enshrouded within our government. So, like for example, if you're a person who upholds the United States flag, that's why you often see the right wingers holding the U.S. flag and the Constitution, right? Because they are, for what does the Constitution stand for? The right to have guns and stuff, right? But uh, it's nothing to do against the government.
Can you show
It's
Can you show me in the First Amendment where you are getting this from? You
well, I'm just talking about
criticize me for taking an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. I'd like you to explain to me why I should allow you to speak however you want in my chat based on the First Amendment that you're saying I'm against.
Well, I'm saying if you were for it because you swore an oath to defend it, and I
Yeah.
think then if you were for it, then you wouldn't, I don't think, be censoring people for speech that it protects.
I
What
will go ahead, Abe.
I'd like him to explain to me where the First Amendment shows what he is saying.
Sorry, I'm not. I'm trying to talk. I'm just talking about like the freedom of speech clause, right? The freedom of speech, freedom of basically the press, right of people, peaceably assemble. But I'm actually talking about uh, particularly just the freedom of speech clause and the idea that where that derives from in history, right? Also is just like the principle of it. So we enshrouded that within the First Amendment because it had deeper meanings and deeper roots, right? It didn't just originate in the First Amendment. You know what I'm saying? Um, and it's because free speech is essential to uh, a healthy democracy in a free society.
You want my channel to be a democracy? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I want your channel to be a civic square where people can discuss politics and religion without fear of being timed out or banned due to arbitrary reasons.
You want my channel to be what you want my channel to be. I get it. Okay, cool. Thank you for answering my question.
Thank you, Abe,
Yeah,
for
you're
the
welcome.
question.
And the thing is, and Abe, the thing is that, if you were somebody like that I was not trying to give constructive criticism to, or somebody that like, uh, you know what I'm saying, then I wouldn't. But the thing is, like, there's a bunch of channels, right, that I never go to, and I'll never go to again. I won't tell them the million things that they could fix on their channels, right? But I don't think that you have a million problems with your channel. You know what I'm saying? I think that there's like one small problem.
My main issue with what you've said is you come on and call me a fraud and you call me a fake. And then the things you're saying that make me a fraud and a fake don't exist. Like literally don't exist. The First Amendment doesn't protect your speech in a private YouTube channel. It doesn't protect the Bible doesn't protect you saying whatever you want about what I believe in my space. The Marine Corps flag, the oath to protect the Constitution, doesn't support what you are saying right now. If we were out in an open forum, like out in a, I don't know, a college square, and I had a tent set up and you came up to talk to me there, cool. But it doesn't.
But don't you? I want to point out that that's what, to me, from the outside, that's kind of what your space presents itself as, right? You're kind of like, like a Charlie Kirk on the panel, and you come out and you've got, you're kind of like, or not like a Charlie Kirk, I guess. What I'm saying is, you open up the tent and you say, "Come on, guys, come talk, come debate," and we can all come there and talk. And it feels like a civic square, like you're talking about. Like it might not be on a campus, but you've essentially created what appears to be a civic square, and I don't know why you have such pushback. Like,
Perfect.
why?
Perfect. At which point did I kick you from the panel?
No, so again, if I what I'm no, none. You never kicked me from the panel, and that's great. I think you run a great panel. That's
Will
why I'm saying.
security escort somebody out of the square if they're yelling over or causing a problem while the people are asking questions to somebody like?
Okay, let's just say I'm conceding all that. What I'm saying is, if the security just arbitrarily plucked people out of the audience because they didn't like them for whatever reason, because they were just, goofing around, they like to fuck with people, or maybe they didn't like their opinions, then I think we'd have an issue on our hands
Who
with
sets that
security.
standard? Who sets that standard?
Right, whoever the host of the event is, right. And so what I'm saying is, if that was what was going on at those events, they would have lost credibility. And I'm saying you're losing credibility, and if you don't care, you don't care. And if I'm throwing pearls before swine, then that's what I'm doing. But what I'm saying is, I'm trying to give wisdom to a wise man.
Man, I love your backhanded insults. Your backhanded compliments are great. You constantly hurl them without realizing you're hurling them, or you realize you're hurling them the entire time. It's kind of like you're a idea fascist or something. I don't know.
Okay, so I will let. Thanks so much for coming on, Abe. I do think that there's the way that I'm gonna say this still, man. This is my opinion, but it's right. But I'm right because I've been there most of the time. So what happened had nothing to do with even the mods timing you out most of the time. You came in, you start attacking them for something that happened in another place, and then you are like, if you go into a place, you start poking a police officer, and the police officer cuffs you and escorts you out, that's on you. And then you're gonna be like, oh, this police officer did something to me. It's like, no, it's the other way around, dude. So the whole point of what has happened, especially when it comes to Abe, it's really frustrating because he did nothing to you. He didn't even ban you the first time, and you went off on your rant about Abe, like if he had done anything to you. And yeah, the backhanded compliments that you said, it's kind of annoying. I'm gonna let you go, Abe. I know you have another
All right.
date. Thank you
Yep.
for coming by.
Thank you, sir. Have a
Good
good
to
one.
see you, Abe.
Oh, well, Sorry he kicked you off like that, Abe. I never get a chance to really chat with you, so it's always just like me talking about you to these guys. So I apologize for that, but I'm glad to see you, man.
Okay, dude, you have anything to say, a question or anything?
Hello. I'm a new listener. I agree with Steelman on the wrenches being tyrants. We all need a
Emmett,
cup of
kick 'em,
liberty
Emmett.
from their tyranny.
That was kind of gay, K2.
It's cool
Who
too.
is K2?
Yeah.
Who is this person that you speak of? I am a Steelman supporter.
I see.
Oh, I apologize. You just sound oddly familiar, like a good buddy of mine. My mistake. I'm sorry.
It happens, sir. It happens.
But you're wrong.
But
I
I just
accept
wanted
you.
I wanted to come up.
Can't even hold it together.
I can't hold it. Fuck. I dropped the ball. Fuck.
Aren't you supposed to be driving somewhere?
I'm always driving somewhere.
That's what I'm
man.
saying.
I got a headset.
Smart. I
All right,
just text
I'll
and
go.
drive.
Thank you for coming on,
I don't
Kum2.
text and drive.
And thank you for supporting your boy, the
I said I
Steelman.
would do it.
Yeah. Thank you for
Send
passing by,
Emmett your
Kum2.
money. Send Emmett your money before I leave.
Oh,
Send him money. Money now. Money Emmett. All right,
Getting
later.
Emmett now.
Please.
Okay. I have nothing else to say. I don't want to overgo to this debate, and I know you have other stuff to do as well. I will thank you both. I will thank you, BigSoda and Steelman. I will give you one final word before I end up alone in my chat. So, any final words, BigSoda?
I appreciate Emmett you allowing me to do this. I know I know you've graced me with your platform, and I appreciate it. You didn't have any ethical duty to do so, but I do appreciate it. Before you kick me, just know that I have a change jar in my bedroom that says Emmett on it, and one day when I fill it up, I'm gonna donate it all to you. And just prepare yourself.
I'm
I'm
going to.
I'm gonna send it to you through the mail, along with some odd electrical devices, and that'll be it.
Any last? I'm gonna just want to mute you. There might be someone else coming up, so I'm gonna mute you for a moment, and then I still want any last words before I close.
well, I wouldn't want to hurt any of these snowflakes' feelings with my words, because I know that they're all extremely sensitive and they'll cry over literally anything or nothing arbitrarily or for no reason. So fuck you fucking snowflakes and your little crying fucking, I'm gonna ban you over your speech bullshit and your fucking fake symbols that you fly around like they mean something. And your little fucking snowflakes, go ahead and melt. Steelman's father, tell them exactly all that shit you taught me when I was growing up, bro.
Son, what I taught you was you don't disrespect your elders, man. Man, you come to my house and you think it's a civic square? Come on, son. What do you expect? Huh? I mean, I taught you better.
No, Dad, I wasn't talking about our room. I was talking about Abe's channel. It says open panel forum and it's open to the public and it's presented on a public forum. Yeah, that.
Fuck him. I'm talking to you, son. Fuck you. I try to raise you to be a good boy, and look at you. You're a long-haired vegan hippie. What the fuck?
That's because I was stealing all your weed. No, I'm just kidding. That's because you were never around, asshole. Where have you been my whole life?
Oh, this kind of disrespect. I will not be allowed in my channel. You have to respect your dad, okay?
I was going to say this Steelman's dad. He's pretty based. He reminds me of somebody I know. I just can't put my finger on it.
Pretty based.
One question for you, and then I'm gone. When you go to your parents' home, do you treat your parents' home like a civic square, or do you respect them and say,
Yeah. Let me answer that. I would love to. So when my parents have an event that they say, open panel, open debate forum, and anyone's welcome, and I go in there and start saying shit, I'll say whatever the fuck I want. You goddamn right.
You gotta go into your parents' home and you gotta say whatever you want.
Yeah, when they're having an open debate forum,
No,
you
no,
goddamn right. I'm gonna say what the fuck I want.
No, I'm talking about when you go into your parents' home. It doesn't. I'm saying not open panel. I'm talking about just your parents and you. Are you gonna go into your parents' home and talk like you do on here?
Well, honestly, I'm Italian, so yeah, we're always arguing.
Answer the damn question, stupid.
Yeah, I am, but I'm still trying to help your point. What's your point, though?
My point is, do you think freedom of speech applies to when you visit your parents' home?
I mean, for me, I do, but I'm kind of a different case. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna like not be myself from it. Like, yeah, but maybe I'm different. I don't know how other people like people's relationships with their parents.
Yeah, you're.
I'm not. What you? I'm, dude, okay, dude. You think I'm afraid to talk to my mom? In fact, that's probably why she doesn't even fucking want to talk to my ass. You know what I'm saying? She's like, you guys. She's already banned my ass.
Well, it looks like Steelman's father left again.
Yeah.
See, he did too. Maybe my fucking dad don't want to talk to my ass, bro. You guys they hate my speech.
The second time, it's like, Jesus Christ, I don't know what I left now. Anyway, I'm gonna drop you
At
both.
least I get to talk to my dad on stream.
So I'm gonna go ahead and drop you both right now. Thank you so much for
ending,
being
y'all.
here. Thank you for the debate. I hope the panel. I hope the chat liked it. I'll be in the chat just for a moment more before I send you all away. And yeah, thank you for the debate. It was great. Now, the debate was fun. I think we all have a bias here. I think Stillman is wrong, as I said, specifically when it comes to the ape stuff. Okay, but I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show him what actual tyrants do, because that is what we should do. Okay, actual tyrants do. So mods, I know you're there. Okay, I want everybody timed out. So start timing out, everybody. Okay, we're gonna show them what actual tyranny is. T for tyrants. We are the mods in this place. This is my house. And then I'm gonna send you all to grade. Start timing everybody in chat. They didn't even give me any money anyway, except Vic. Vic can stay. Everybody else get a timeout. I'm gonna start doing this. Nukesis, like, you're gonna get a 1 hour timeout, a 30-minute timeout, because that's what I can do. Everybody will get timeout. Everybody will get timeout. T for tyrant. Gary, you're gonna get timed out. Everybody's gonna get timed out. 30 minutes. Because that's what we can do. It's gonna be a 30-minute timeout. Tyrant raid. Everybody. Oh man. This is how it goes. This is the place. This is how we do here. Everybody could have had less time out. Everybody could have been happier. But no. We're gonna be tyrants here. I don't have a flag behind me. That's why I can't be a tyrant. I learned from the Steelman that if I don't put a flag behind me, I can't be a tyrant. So yeah, I'm serious. Everybody gets a 30-minute timeout. Everybody. And then once that is done, I'm gonna time out even my mods, because everybody gets that. Oh man, this is gonna be fun. This is fun. Thank you all for passing by, for being part of this debate, for enjoying the what is to come. I'm gonna send you all to one of the best places to be on the internet. Okay, have fun, enjoy being at grids. Tell him I sent him. Everybody's gonna get in timeout. Okay, everybody gets a timeout. Okay. Today is the day that everybody gets a timeout. I'm even gonna go back and just do it. Just get everybody a timeout. Oh man. Oh, it's only me now. It's only me. Only I don't get a timeout. Oh, what? No, I don't want to pin this. Just want to time you out. Some timeout. Yeah. I hope everybody had a great time. I hope everybody had a fun debate. I had a lot of fun. I really did. So I just I'm just going back. I'm checking that everything and everybody gets a timeout that they deserve. Go to grid. Have a great rest of your night. Enjoy it. Take care. Be well. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead with the last screen. Take care, everyone. Enjoy your time. Emmet.